before you pick up the phone for the first call of the day, tell yourself that the person on the end of the line, on the other end, is going to benefit from what you are going to say. The fact of that matter is imperative, because they are going to benefit from using our service. There's not a company in this country that has bad debt on the books that cannot benefit from our service. So what we want to realize is that every person that we communicate with could most likely use the services of Lyons and Associates. So first step, be confident about this. If you believe you will make a successful call, chances are you will. If you have a negative attitude, your chances of making a sale will decrease exponentially. If you don't feel confident, act as if you are anyway. A simple fake it till you make it will do. Tell yourself how the majority of the people you plan to contact will benefit from your knowledge. Back on the note of negative and positive attitudes. Having a positive outlook on what you're doing is always better. Now, I'm not saying that positive thinking can have me train for a boxing match with a heavyweight belt-holding boxer and get in that ring and win the fight. But positive thinking can give me a better fighting chance at staying in the ring with them. And that's what we want to realize here. Positive thinking won't help you do the impossible. It will help you do the possible better. And that's the point of that. So the important thing to keep in mind is that you are actually doing a favor for the people you contact simply by talking to them. You're giving them your professional knowledge and expertise, and you're giving it to them for free. What that means is never apologize for calling anyone. I see too many salespeople that apologize for calling almost before they even introduce themselves. Don't do that. Oh, I'm sorry to bother you. This is only going to take a minute of your time. Don't apologize. What we're doing can help them. Okay, so promote the fact that you have something that could benefit them. Because when you apologize in a selling situation, you automatically reveal insecurity and weakness to the person that you're trying to win over. And insecurity and weakness is never going to win anyone over. One of the things that causes these fears is not properly learning all there is to know about the services offered by Lyons and Associates. Now, some of you guys are new to this, so it's going to be imperative that you learn absolutely everything you possibly can about who we are and what we do. Okay, if you don't learn your product, what may happen is the person on the other end of the line may challenge you and expose that lack of product knowledge. And if this happens, don't freeze and hang up. Don't lose confidence. Even if you begin to feel embarrassed or threatened by it, tell the person you'll have to do some research and you will call them back with the correct answer as soon as possible, and be sure to do so. Something that we pride ourselves on here is doing what we say we're going to do. That's one of the things that makes us more successful in creating higher yields for our clients than other agencies, because we simply do what we say we're going to do. When a collector is working a file, he's not going to give empty promises or empty threats or anything of that nature. He's going to go in and he's going to tell them exactly what we're going to do. Then if they do not respond properly, that collector is going to do exactly what he said we are going to do. If we threaten to litigate, we're going to litigate. If we're collecting on a transportation account from a broker and we tell the broker that we're going to go after his customer, we're absolutely going to go after his customer. And these are things that at other agencies collectors will threaten, but they don't actually do. So back to what I was saying about when you run into a situation that you have a question that can't be answered. One point you want to realize is never give the wrong information just to cover up a lack of knowledge, because that will always come back to haunt you. It could also cost you a valuable client. And on the other hand, I know I'm saying here, tell them you'll call them back with the correct answer or information as soon as possible. On the other hand, if you frequently tell a client that you don't know, that prospect will lose confidence in you and probably won't place any accounts with you. So product knowledge is very important. Typically, the inside salespeople in this business or in any business who have experienced fear to sell over the phone, usually that happens because one of the major players in this, from what we're doing, is they forgot about their determination to succeed. Imagine that. Also, the thought about possibly being turned down or rejected by a prospect can cause us to not want to pursue that conversation. Something that I covered on the Hangout last Friday on June 20th is listening properly. If we're not listening properly or speaking properly and answering and asking the right questions, we're going to begin to experience fear in selling our product, which brings us to a lack of confidence. If someone lacks confidence in themselves or in their sales ability, that person will not close many sales. One of the ways to obtain confidence in this is to have a full understanding of the service that you're attempting to sell, which, of course, this is a learning process. You don't learn this overnight. You learn it over time, hard work, and diligence. Some of the things that this brings me to or some of the golden rules of selling. the first thing you want to do is always present your product professionally and demonstrate self-confidence. These are very important. Professionalism and self-confidence. Okay, to do this, you must understand your services. You must understand them thoroughly. So as you continue going on with our company, learn as much as you can. Always speak and listen properly. Listening is very important. And when you're listening, you're going to get negative prospect replies. And those can be turned into sales advantages by drawing out the prospect's reasons for his or her objections, then overcome them. Again, never apologize for calling anyone, and never give up your determination to succeed. Focus and stay focused, and you will be able to do this. One of the things that's important to know about this, when you're making a call, you're going to be judged by your voice alone. You know, of course, our company holds a little weight, but the first thing that's going to allow you to earn the right to qualify a prospect is your voice. Okay? When you speak, you're going to create in that prospect's mind an impression of yourself, your services, and our company. Okay, since your prospect cannot see you, he cannot respond to your appearance or your body language, however impressive it is. Okay, so only by your voice will that prospect decide whether you are a salesperson that is worth listening to or not. So everything hinges on how you speak. One of the things that can cause problems in how you speak is poor pronunciation and lazy enunciation. That can ruin even the best sales presentation. If your prospect doesn't hear clearly or does not understand correctly, he might not want to ask you to repeat a word or a sentence, and he may completely refuse to hear you out and will probably hang up on you. So you want to add selling power to your voice. The way you do that is with voice modulation and verbal presentation. That will always set the tone for your sales call. Your voice is one of the main tools that will gain a positive response from the prospect. So sounding positive and enthusiastic is a must for a successful sales call. If your prospect perceives a smile in your voice, your prospect is more likely to listen to you.
Mike, interruption. Another important thing is to use their name often in the phone call.
Absolutely. And when you're using someone's name, if they have answered the phone, this is Reiner Davis, may I help you? Use their when you introduce yourself, use your first and last name. If they're answering the phone more casual, hi, this is Reiner, may I help you? Then you introduce yourself first name. It's a way to get the playing field leveled. Okay. One of the things that can help in this is your rate of speech. Okay, the tonality of your voice will reveal your attitude even more than the rate of speech, but you also want to guide your rate of speech by your prospect's rate of speech. So if you're talking to somebody down here in the South by me that talks a little slower, well, you might want to talk a little slower so you're on his playing field. You know, if you're talking to somebody in New York and they're talking real fast, man, and everything's popping, you want to get up there with them, because if you go in there and talk slow, guess what? They're not going to listen. But again, the tone is going to reveal your attitude even more than the rate of speech, and will greatly influence your prospect's acceptance of the relationship. Some of the tones that will deter a prospect from speaking to you are annoyance, fatigue, or indifference. Okay, so if you just hung up the phone with a prospect and they yelled at you and got you all worked up and your blood's boiling now, don't bring that into your next call. If you have to take 2 minutes, walk around for a minute and clear your head, do it. Because if you bring that into your next call is not going to go anywhere. So even if you go in and you change that as the conversation goes along, that first impression is never going to be missed. That prospect is always going to get the most out of the first impression. So that brings me to volume. I know you guys probably noticed that I have a pretty loud talking voice. I enunciate very deeply, and I'm very passionate about what I do. Let me tell you, a louder voice will always tend to convey enthusiasm. So we want to pay attention to this so we can articulate precisely. Pitch is another factor. Your voice will naturally rise when you are interested, anticipating, or inquiring. Also, voices may fall sometimes when a decision is reached or a thought is completed. And a lot of this stuff that I go over is based on psychology. That's how I sell. I sell through human psychology. And I've been very successful with it. So I feel it's important to make sure that I teach my ways of doing this, because they work. And they can work for anybody. Of course, for each different person, there are going to be different little things that work for you, but the majority of what I'm talking about can be used by everyone. Do I have any questions thus far? Okay. Now, let me get back to adapting to the speed of the prospect. Okay. First, it's important that you speak clearly, which means that you must articulate and speak so that you are understood. Additionally, there's no set rate of speech. Most expert speakers talk between 140 and 160 words per minute. This is a good speed for telephone communications. It's not too fast to be understood, and it doesn't give the listener the impression that you are under pressure, nor is it too slow. If you're articulating properly and speaking clearly, it's going to add dignity to your voice. This is something that will give the prospect you're talking to a sound image of you that will establish both you and our company as efficient and well organized. So one of the things that I've done very often, and I still do it, these videos that we're doing here, I go back and I watch them so I can improve upon what I'm doing. Some of you know that I used to play music professionally. That was my job. I was a guitar player. I had still done that on the side while doing collections during the day and playing music at night. However, owning my own agency has put a pretty big damper on that. I can't play gigs anymore if I want this agency to be successful, but that's a price that I have to pay. I can still play in my living room. I can still pick up a guitar, go sit at my piano and play some jazz and stuff like that. But one of the things that I had to do when I was young and learning to play music is get my little tape recorder out. I know some of you guys remember tape recorders. You got them at Radio Shack. And I would record myself, and I would listen to the way I articulated the notes I was playing. I listened to my attack and my approach to whatever chordal movements or whatever sound was coming out of my instrument, and I continued to improve upon it. This is something that helped me become a professional musician without actually having someone sitting there teaching me. And yes, I did go to college for music. I do have a degree in it, but that's not how I learned to play music. I learned to play music by listening. Okay, and something you will find with some of the best musicians in the world, they learn to play by listening. And they learn to mimic what they were hearing. They learn to make improvements. So the point I'm making is record yourself. Listen to yourself. A salesperson who doesn't know the sound of his or her voice is like a football player playing without a helmet. Sooner or later, something's going to happen that's not going to be pretty. So your voice, it can make you or it can break you. So listen to your voice. Your voice is going to tell your prospect as much as your words do, perhaps even more. So when you're telling a prospect that our network of 12,000 private investigators will collect more money quickly for you, your voice may indicate that you don't believe that yourself, or your voice may indicate that you do believe it yourself. The guys here that have written numerous business and have seen what we do with it, their confidence is there because we collect the money. If your prospect senses a lack of conviction in your voice, You can't convince them. You might say the right words, ask the right questions, but unless you sound convinced, your prospect will not be persuaded to place any accounts. So your voice is your primary tool, and you can use your primary tool effectively by putting more persuasion, more conviction into it. Now, some people naturally possess good speaking voices. Me personally, I like my speaking voice. I'm convinced by it. I like the way I sound. So that helps me create a positive atmosphere that makes it easy for me to sell. So if you already have this, you're in luck, because there are many salespeople who aren't so lucky. However, what's fortunate is every voice can be improved. And if you don't believe that, look up some singers on YouTube from their early days and look at them once their career is booming, how much their voice has improved in singing. Now, when you do this, don't look for the ones that you keep seeing in the news that have been to rehab and back to rehab and back to rehab, because they're killing their voice, because their body is their instrument. So you're not going to see that in those, but it's a good point to make. Every voice can be improved. So to be successful, you want to test your voice from time to time. You want to make sure your voice is a help to selling, not a hindrance. Top-notch inside salespeople check their voices by making recordings of their sales presentation. And then they play back the recording, listen to their voice, and they ask themselves, does my voice sound indifferent? Does it sound depressing, anxious, unsure, worried, tense, careless, strained? Do I sound bored? Do I sound insincere? All of these things are questions you should ask yourself to improve the way your voice comes over the phone. So once you convince yourself that with your sales talk-off, you have an important message for your prospects, you will automatically gain confidence. Your voice will show it. Before you call any prospect, decide exactly how is that prospect going to benefit when the prospect places accounts with you. Then go in and present that to the prospect with confidence and enthusiasm. Believe in what you sell. Think about everything that is good about it. Picture in your mind all of the benefits that you can offer each prospect. With these thoughts in mind, you will create confidence with your voice, and more importantly, your prospects will place accounts with you with confidence. Okay? Now, one thing, when I was first learning effective inside sales, well, actually at the time it was telemarketing, because I was just doing basically a canned pitch over the phone. I was a teenager when I was doing this, and when I say teenager, I mean I was 15 years old selling coupon books over the phone. And the first thing I learned is how to enunciate keywords in what you're saying. For example, our collection service will collect more money for you. Our collection service will collect more money for you. Our collection service will collect more money for you. Our collection service will collect more money for you. Our collection service will collect more money for you. Our collection service will collect more money for you. Now, you see, I emphasized different words in that same statement and said numerous different statements. One of the ones, our collection service will collect more money for you. Okay, I'm emphasizing more because we will collect more money for them. Or our collection service will collect more money for you. That's putting enthusiasm on those particular keywords, and it's helping convey your point of view to stress a benefit to the prospect. Okay? We will. That's a positive affirmation. We will collect more. That's stressing a benefit. Very important. I need to get some coffee because my voice is drying up, and you know, coffee's not going to help it, but I like coffee, so here we go here. Let's talk about diction. Speaking clearly and distinctly. Pronounce carefully each syllable and word. And look, I'm from New Orleans, so I don't always pronounce each word perfectly. I've listened back to some of these videos and I'm like, man, I need to stop sounding like the people in New Orleans around me. So with that point, you know, never slur your words. If you're pronouncing carefully each syllable and word, you will inspire confidence in a prospect. You'll give strength to every word you say. And particularly bear down on the final D's, the T's, the eds, the ings, and other such endings. Make sure you don't talk with a cigar or a cigarette or a pipe or a pen or chewing gum in your mouth. You know, these are obstacles that will hinder your speaking clearly. Like if I'm trying to talk to a prospect and I'm drinking my coffee, and you see I keep a big cup of coffee on my desk. That sip I just took stopped me from speaking. I may have right there lost that prospect's interest. So pay attention to the obstacles that can weaken your message. And again, be positive. Smile. A smile indicates to a prospect that you're happy and willing to help him with his problems. And anyone is going to respond more favorably to positive statements than to negative words. Do I have any questions thus far? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller?
Mike, I think you're doing an excellent job. I think that what you're conveying is very true. I know it to be true, but I think some of the people here would benefit if you could do a phone call over the Hangout today, if that's possible.
I would prefer if I'm going to do a sales presentation for somebody, that we do it on a conference call. It's not because I'm scared to pick up the phone and do it
Oh,
right
we know
now.
that, Mike. We know that.
It's because this is on air.
Yeah, I
And
also consider that. Yeah.
we can't just broadcast somebody.
Yeah. Without notifying them that it's being recorded.
Right, right. So,
Yeah. Okay, not a problem.
um, Laurie, do you have a question? Okay, guess not. Um, I did a conference call with Kim Goodwin yesterday, and she she may be willing to share that call with you guys. If we can uh, email each other or something, we can find a way to get it done. We will find a solution for that, and also if we have a specific situation with a prospect, or even if it's just making a cold call, typically you're going to want to have your mentor walk you through a cold call. But if you already have a decision maker and they've shut you down, let's do a three-way call. Let's do a conference call. I will absolutely go in and ask them every question I can to close them, and I will put them on the spot. Kim, I'd like to hear from you for a second to give these guys an indication of what we did yesterday. You had a prospect that was talking about place and he wasn't sure. I see we still didn't get the account from him, so I may have to go in and hammer him again. But give me and the other guys on the Hangout your thoughts on that call we did yesterday.
Sounds like she needs to turn her volume up.
Let's see. I've got a chat message from Kim. How about a practice one just between us? We can do that, Kim. We can do that. And she says she recorded the call that we made, and it was a very interesting one, lots to learn from. And she says she can put it into a zip file. She said she thinks her microphone isn't working. And can he see this chat? Yes, I can see it. I saw it popping up, and I finally decided to look over to my other screen and take a look at it. And guys, if you see me looking back and forth like this, I use multiple monitors on my computer because I have to multitask to get my job done, and I can't do my job with one screen. While we're on the issue of microphones, I want to talk about headsets. If any of you guys use headsets while you're on the phone, make sure you know what it sounds like on the other end of the phone. Like if your prospect is asking you to repeat yourself again and again, you're probably not talking directly into the microphone, or you may be talking too loudly. It might be not loudly enough. It could be any number of things. Typically, it's recommended that your lips should be about an inch or less from the microphone on your headset or on your phone. Also, you know, if you're using a Bluetooth device, make sure you pay attention to the manufacturer's recommendation for best performance, because they probably have a good idea what the do's and don'ts are for their prospect. And make sure you understand that on headsets, you know, the ones that just kind of have the earpiece and come around, or even if you're using one of these big old giant headsets, if you got one of these on, you don't want the mouthpiece way over here. You want it to where it comes close in, so your prospect can properly hear you and understand you. Now some people use an old school phone like I do and have a habit of holding the phone between their shoulder and neck. When you do this, be aware that your voice will sound blurred, sometimes muffled. So keep that in mind. That's my thoughts on microphones. So back to making your impressions. The first impression, I know you've probably heard all of your life, first impressions are the most important. So with that said, it is impossible to overestimate the importance of creating a good first impression. In business as well as in social life, your voice reflects your personality. So when you're meeting somebody face to face, sometimes poor diction can be overlooked because you have a winning smile or a warm personality. But when you talk over the phone, they can't see your winning smile. They can only they can only base whether they like you or not off of that warm personality. So your voice is you, absolutely. Which brings me to vocabulary. When you're mimicking your prospects or mirroring your prospects' rate of speech, also pay attention to their phrase construction, their volume, and their mood. It will help you build a stronger bond. People tend to bond with other people that they have things in common with. If you increase the commonalities in your conversation, you will build stronger bonds, because we all prefer to do business with people that we feel are more like us. We communicate best with friends and business associates who see the world the same way we do.
Are you speaking about even those really dry, those really tight people that you come across that you just know they are so uptight and don't want to be on this call? I mean, you don't want to mimic them, right? Or do you have some insight of something that you should do with those type of people?
I think you should be more succinct with them, more to the point, more short, and not meaning short to where you're being rude to them, but get your point across in less words. Okay, and encourage their speech. Okay,
more concise with them.
Correct. And when you have people like that, give them some encouragement. See if you can get them to come around. And encouragement is something we talked about in the last hangout. If anybody's on here who didn't see it, you can go to our YouTube channel and watch it. When you encourage someone that's speaking, you bring up their enthusiasm. Okay, so a simple, absolutely. I see your point, Mr. Prospect. Something like that may bring them into a more enthusiastic conversation and set a better mood for you to build a bond. Now, sometimes you're going to run into people who just flat out do not want to talk right now. And when you have that and you can't overcome it, either call them back at another time, or if the conversation was bad enough, get rid of them, because you don't want to waste your time on that. So the point on that is, when you pay close attention to the way your prospect communicates, you'll be able to show that you understand their situations and their unique needs, okay? Because every prospect's needs will be different, okay? It's still going to be the same needs. They still need a collection agency, but if you're on the phone with the grumpy cat, try and bring their mood up. Because nobody wants to talk to grumpy. Okay, don't get grumpy back with them. Just be shorter, encourage them, and if you can get them encouraged, you can learn what they need to be sold, and you can begin, once they become encouraged, you can begin mirroring what their vocabulary is, their rate of speech, phrase construction, volume, and mood. So you can develop that bond. One thing to realize in this, though, is mirroring is not just, it's not really mimicking. I said mimicking before, and I just caught myself on that. Don't mimic them because it's insincere. It's an imitation. So when you do this, you want to be genuine. Okay? You want to absolutely be genuine about understanding the world the way your prospect does. And that doesn't mean you need to have everything in common. What I mean is looking and understanding the world the way your prospect does, is giving off that impression, by mirroring. And that's something. Do it in tiny increments, because this is something you can overdo, and you don't want to give somebody the impression that you're making fun of them or something, by repeating them or coming back the exact same way they did. Also, you're going to run into, when you're dealing with the prospects that are really short with you. I mentioned talking back in short phrases. The reason for that is your prospect may think in short phrases. Okay, this may be the way that prospect's brain actually operates. They want things quick. They want it right now. So you want to mirror that. If you're getting a prospect like that, this is going to be the same prospect that interrupts you frequently. Okay, when you're trying to talk, they're going to interrupt. Then, on the other hand, if a prospect's repeatedly asking you for more explanation, that prospect is going to be more comfortable with longer, more detailed thoughts, and you should also take that into consideration and communicate that way. Also, if you listen for and use the words that your prospect uses in their proper context, it will help you build a better bond. And when you use the same words that they use, make sure you understand them. That's what I mean by proper context. If they're using a term or a word that's not in your vocabulary, break out the dictionary. Or actually, I think most of us use an online dictionary now. But dictionaries absolutely have a strong purpose. And of course, don't get out the dictionary while you're on the phone with them, you know. Learn the new word, learn how to use it in context. So if you run into it again, you can use it. And what this is going to show is that you are willing to speak his or her language, okay? The best way to find your way around your prospect's working vocabulary is through the creative use of open-ended questions and active listening skills that we discussed in Friday's Hangout. I mentioned writing down keywords and phrases that your prospect talks about and use them appropriately in the conversation. This is so important. You know, keep your notes about your prospect's conversation styles. And another thing on notes, guys, make sure everything that happens on a prospect, and I'm not talking about cold lead list, I'm talking about the ones that are in your prospects. Always keep proper notes in these files. Notes are so important in this. And the notes aren't just for me to go back and see what you're doing and how you're working. Your notes are so you can have a positive working knowledge of what is going on in the closing cycle that you're going through with whichever prospect you're dealing with. That way you can begin your next conversation on the same positive note as the last one. So let's go back to mirroring. I'll elaborate a little further. Lori was asking about if a prospect's kind of not in the mood to talk, see if you can draw them out. But if that brings us to, if your prospect's happy, celebrate with them. Oh man, that's awesome. If they're sad, sympathize or empathize with them. You know, oh man, that, you know, I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Prospect. One of the worst mistakes that salespeople tend to make is in trying to abruptly shift the mood of a prospect. You cannot do it abruptly. Okay, so it's better to match his or her mood and then gradually bring him to the point where you want to be. So when I mentioned encouraging that prospect whose attitude is in the toilet, do it gradually. Don't try to force that prospect into a good mood, because you're not going to do it. And there's one more point about voice quality. We mentioned this last Friday as well, Friday as well. Sit up straight, use good posture, or if you prefer, stand up. If you slouch when you're in your chair or hunch over your desk, it's going to affect the quality of your voice as well as your attitude. Get up occasionally and walk around your desk. Sometimes you want to give your voice a momentary rest, then start your calls again. One of the things I have a habit of doing, if you ever talk to me and I'm hyped up and pumped up, more than what I am on this conversation right now, it's because I'm walking back and forth in my office. I'm on the phone and I'm walking around. I'm up. I'm making my blood circulate. It's keeping me up and on the phone and getting it done. And as you notice, while I'm sitting in my nice, comfortable office chair, I'm a little more relaxed. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because I'm sitting down. I'm relaxing, man. I'm chilling, right? So let's talk about some words that trigger emotions, okay? And emotions are something you want to trigger. You always want to do this, yes, a little gradually, but if you can learn to trigger emotions, trigger emotions rather than just irritate, which is something I do sometimes. I like to hammer people. Kim will tell you I hammered this guy a little bit that I talked to, but I didn't hammer him bad. I just probed and probed and probed because I wanted the right answers. You know, my objective was to put him on the spot and get him to place the business. But some of the things that can trigger emotions are questions like, what is your opinion? What do you think? What were the circumstances? Or how do you feel about blank, right? Or could you explain? Or sometimes a simple why. Okay, these are words and questions that can help you trigger emotions, because if your prospect is talking about something and you're engaging that prospect, let's say you have a prospect telling you about a customer of the prospects that kept promising payment and now they're not returning phone calls, and guess what? That's a red flag, and it's annoying when someone doesn't return your call. So if you ask your prospect, how do you feel about that customer not returning your call? You're going to trigger emotions. Get them angry about it. Get them mad if you have to. Because those emotions, oh, I need to place him for collections now. Send your biggest, baddest dog after this guy. I'm on my last nerve with him. Absolutely. Now you've triggered emotions. And then there are words that help you invite action. Okay? Words, and these aren't necessarily action words, they invite action. The you, the your, the save, money, help, easy, discover, proven, okay, new, guarantee, okay, and the context you use these words in is, I guarantee we can save you time and provide better results. We can make this easy for you. We can help you discover a better way to collect your receivables that is proven to produce 3 times the industry average of yields. It's your company's money. Won't you look good if you have found a new agency that collects more money for you? Now, in that statement, I used every action word I just said. I used you, I used your, I used money, I used saved, I used new, results, help, easy, discover, proven, and guarantee. That's how you break these in to invite action. It invites action in. So that's going to bring you to words that motivate. Okay? And for example, a simple thank you or congratulations or you were very kind. It's been a real pleasure. Will you help me? Rick had a prospect shoot him down this morning. He just said, you know, we're not using anybody else at this time. We're not, I'm sorry, at this time we're not making any changes. Okay, and the guy had already talked about business with Rick. So, you know, we're going to go back in the game plan on this later, but I said email him back and ask him why. Tell him, look, will you help me? Help me understand why you've made this decision. What brought you to this conclusion? And these are the types of things that motivate. And he came back and he was a little nasty about, well, this is why. I asked you for a list of references and you asked me to call somebody. Well, of course we did. You want references to call them, right? Well, here's the people you should call that do business with us. Here's your references. Like, what's this guy who says, here's your sign? Well, there's his sign. Look, these are your references. I mean, what, do you just want a list because you're too lazy to pick up the damn phone? Oh, and believe me, I'm going to get on this phone and I'm going to put this guy into an uncomfortable situation and find out what his real issues are. And we might end up getting the business. We might not end up getting it. But I guarantee you, we will get some result off of that call. We'll either find out that we're never, ever going to get an account from them, or we'll get them out of business. Some of the words and phrases that you want to stay away from or things like, oh, see what I mean? Or get the point? Do you know? Or if you're explaining something to a prospect and you say, understand, these are words that irritate. One of the things that you definitely want to do, yes, you want to get someone out of their comfort zone, but you don't want to irritate. And sometimes irritating them is unavoidable, but you know, we have to take that into consideration. And me personally, my selling style is I like to knock a prospect off of their rocker. I like to make them uncomfortable. I like to take them out of their comfort zone. I like to use a hammer. That's my style. And I've been doing this long enough to where I can use that effectively. So sometimes if we're doing a conference call on something and you hear me do some things, you may want to completely think about it before you go in and do something like that, because sometimes I'll use a negative close. Rick, why did you just mute me, man? I can't talk anymore. Am I done with my conversation? Oh, wait. Let me unmute you, Rick. You have something to say. You have to unmute yourself, Rick, to talk. Look at that,
Yeah, I was
man.
getting ready to make a call. I gotta call some prospect out in Cali.
Okay.
I was just seeing if I could.
Seeing if what?
I was seeing if I could mute you.
Oh. Oh, well, that's nice of you, man. Don't do that. So what?
Carry on.
Well, I want to make this a little shorter than the ones that we've been having. We've been on here for an hour already, so I'm opening up the floor for questions. Guys, remember to unmute yourselves before you ask.
When do you decide that you're finished with a client? At what point? I mean, if you have a client that you've talked to a few times and it's negative, do you hold on to it and come back in a few months to see if the water's different, or do you just let it go right then?
I get rid of them. I don't have time for people that are continuously negative, and you shouldn't either. You should not make time for people that are going to waste your time, continuously be negative, because there are too many prospects out there that will give you a positive response. Yes, it's difficult to find them. We're looking for needles in a haystack here, but there are plenty out there, plenty of them out there. So
I was also thinking about going over her head too.
okay,
So that's going to be what I'm going to do next, I think. Okay. And if I don't get anywhere with that, then I'll come back to you.
okay, yeah, absolutely. If you're getting a negative response from somebody, go over their head. Rick had somebody back in December that he actually called this prospect at 7:30 in the morning to get the owner on the phone, because the girl that answered the phone kept saying that, they're not interested, and she wasn't the decision maker. Rick called before she got there. There's one of the things you can do to get the decision maker or a business owner or a higher up on the phone. These guys get there early, they leave late, and a lot of them don't take a lunch. They got to the position they're in because they're probably a workaholic. Me personally, I work a minimum of 12 hours a day. That's a minimum. And I do that because I want to be successful, and I am driven to be successful, and I am successful. The people that are the decision makers that you're contacting, some of them are going to be the same way. So, if you can't, you have something, Rick?
I was just drinking my coffee.
Okay, you're going back on mute, brother. There we go. Unmute if you want to talk, and that'll help us keep noise and distractions out of these. I want them to be as professional as humanly possible, and I think we're doing an outstanding job on this one, keeping the distractions to a minimum. What do I have for additional questions? That's Edward Elkins. What do you have, brother? You got to take your mute off to talk. There you go.
Oh, well, I don't know exactly what my question is. My process right now, I'm just trying to figure out how much I can learn to answer those questions and to sell that person, and but I'm not having a whole lot of difficulty talking to the person and stuff, and I can get them into a conversation, and just kind of sweet talk them a little bit, or something, but then but it's just closing on. A lot of them will just tell me, hey, no, really, we don't get very many, and we do really well in house. We're at 95%, stuff like that. And I know that one of the other videos explains how, some of that, but that's what I ran into with the truck drivers, and then but some of them, they just tell me they don't have any current, or they never get those, and they never get any. They do business with the same customers. That's pretty common with these truck drivers, it seems.
Okay. And yeah, you're gonna want to get past those, and of course, if they're giving you something like that, just get rid of them if you can't find out if they have anything at all. And if they're telling you 95%, they're in trouble, man. If they're only collecting 95%. I'm in one of the most profitable industries in business, and the net profit for our company is only about 10%. Okay, so that should give you an idea of what the companies you're calling are actually profiting.
Okay.
Okay, so if his net profit is as high as mine, and he's collecting 95%, half of his profit is gone. Half of it's gone, and that's an important thing to understand. So if they're telling you 95%, what are you doing with the 5%? And if he's telling you, oh, well, this broker went out of business, tell him, hey, let's take a look at the account anyway. Rick Johnson can tell you how many out-of-business brokers we have collected accounts on, because we have other avenues to pursue on that. I'd like to move on to Reiner. Reiner, you got any questions? Anything to bring to the table?
Well, couple things. What Cookie was talking about in conversation, I think where you have to cut it off is if you're not moving forward to securing the account. I mean, if you are calling trucking industries like Edward has been, you have a lot of small independents, and yes, they may not have a collection issue, but we're sorting people. Keep in mind, as we call, we're sorting customers, potential customers. Not everybody has a collection issue, because they may only do a small amount of business with certain people. But on the other side of the coin, when somebody says they're collecting 95%, I'd say, well, that means there's some room for improvement. Wouldn't you agree? And then go in and say, this is how we can help you. And don't buy the story 95%. So what? There's room for improvement. And as I've always said, and I stand true to this, you got to understand, you are Lyons and Associates. That's who they're buying, is you. And you need to have a backbone, not a wishbone. And I don't mean that to be derogatory to anybody, but you got to have a backbone, as if you had invented. If you had Mike's overhead every month, and you would have a different attitude, I guarantee you. And you got to become sharper, and you got to improve on each and every call, and that will come with experience. And don't buy into the stories. Great, you're collecting 95%. Well, that sounds like there's room for improvement. Wouldn't you agree? And then open the door that much more. That's a great opportunity to sell our services. And you need to look if you're moving forward in conversation. If you're not moving forward, and you've talked to this person a couple times, like Cookie said, jump over their head, go to a higher up. And if that's not working, get rid of them, as Mike said. I mean, your time is valuable, and if you're not progressing, then why pursue them? So I have somebody tomorrow who just came back from vacation yesterday over in Europe, and they were discussing placing some collections before he left. And I had talked to his gal who's a head of their accounts receivables, but she needs his approval. And so I'm going to be talking with him personally tomorrow. So I think that should be a very positive call.
Awesome, awesome. And guys, you see the way Reiner talks? Whenever Reiner talks, I feel at ease and I feel like I want to listen. His conversation is inviting. I love that. I love that. He's got the confidence, and yeah, I'm a little partial to him because we go to the same barber. You know, we got the same haircut. but that's absolutely important. And Rick, I'm not leaving you out, buddy. I'm not leaving anybody out. All of you guys are good. Otherwise, we wouldn't be spending time with you. So let's, matter of fact, let's hear from Rick.
What do you want to hear, buddy?
I don't want you to tell me what I want to hear. I want you to bring something to the table.
Okay.
I'm putting you on the
spot. I'm ready to get on the phone.
All right, guys.
Is that what you want to hear?
Well, you know that's what I want to hear. But you did bring something to the table. You brought enthusiasm to get on the phone, and this conversation is about getting on the phone. So
that's right.
Are there any other questions here? Anybody have anything before I close this out? Anyone? Bueller? Some of us are old enough to remember that movie. All right. That's the, wait, we got a chat message here. Okay. Thank you for a great talk. Awesome. All right. Well, I guess that's going to be it. We're done. And guys, let's get some accounts in. Let's make some money. Let's make some clients happy. And did I mention making some money? Let's make some money. Let's do that. And we'll be doing this again on Friday, same time, same channel. And if you guys ever want to watch these over, click on the YouTube link on our homepage and go to our YouTube channel, and they will be on there for us to watch. And this can be something that's also helpful to other salespeople, and for those of you who are veterans in this now and you're mentoring people, this will help us bring other salespeople into our company, and we'll give you more qualified people to mentor and help us make more money as a company and as salespeople and as mentors. Additionally, I'm not going to be one of these guys that's putting sales videos on YouTube to try to sell them a book. We're not trying to sell them a sales program. So they can get all of the knowledge right there. They don't have to buy the book to get the rest of it. So that's absolutely a good thing. And in closing, qualify, and close. Wait, I think I've got a banner for this. Let's see where it's at. There we go. Question, engage, qualify, close the deal. and I'll see you guys soon. And happy hunting. And everybody's still watching, man. I know I'm not that pretty. Come on. I'll see you guys next time, and I'll probably talk to you on the phone soon. Y'all have a fantastic day.